Welcome everybody to UFO Man Live. My name is Tim or UFO Man, and tonight we have a very special guest by the name of Luigi Vendittelli. I hear some static somewhere, guys.
I hear it too.
Not me.
Everybody mute and one at a time, Luigi. Okay. All right. Unmute one at a time. Okay, it's gone. No, Luigi, mute again. It is coming from Luigi.
It's coming
Hang
from
on.
me? That's weird.
No.
It's Gigi.
Gigi.
I was gonna say,
Gigi,
it's
you have a
probably
hiss on the
me.
line.
It's usually me. I got you.
Okay, anyways, guys,
I'm sorry.
we're just experiencing some sound difficulty, and once we get it corrected, we will get into our live stream.
There.
Okay, tonight we're featuring Luigi Vendittelli, who is the executive producer and the director of a soon-to-be featured worldwide documentary and virtual experience about S4. I lost my train of thought, sorry. Anyways, he is here tonight to discuss the documentary, and we would like to show you his trailer for his film so you get an idea of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So here we go.
There's really no way I can prove it without revealing my identity and getting myself into more trouble than I have already.
Exactly what's going on up there?
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs that are out there of extraterrestrial origin, and they're basically being dismantled. Some are, well, in various stages of completion, built from other parts, and they're being test flown and basically just analyzed.
I was 29 years old, working on the most incredible project in the history of the world. No one has ever been able to show exactly what I saw with my own eyes, until now. Let's travel back in time to December of 1988 when this all started.
Very well done. Thought that was
I
a
love
great
it. It's
trailer.
great.
Yes.
Totally. Makes me want to watch it.
Yeah, and didn't you say recently that the full trailer is coming out soon, Luigi?
Yeah, that was the excuse me. That was the teaser trailer that we came up with. We wanted to do something really fun. We thought that this was a serious project. We wanted to bring a little bit of fun into it. And for the longest time, I was like, how do we bring people back to 1988? How do we do that? You know? And something came up and somebody brought it showed up on my computer that somebody rents the Back to the Future DeLorean, and I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that is, without a doubt, the most iconic vehicle ever in Hollywood. There's no vehicle that beats the DeLorean time machine.
Not even the Ghostbusters, like the one.
Exactly.
No
Right.
way.
No,
What
yeah,
else? Knight Rider, not even.
yeah,
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
So I reach out to them, and the guy who owns the whole company, I say, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, Bob LAZAR. I was thinking of bringing the car out to a desert. And he goes, well, not only do I know Bob LAZAR, he goes, I used to work at Groom Lake at Area 51. And this is the owner,
Nice.
full rental for the
Wow.
United States of the time machine. I'm like, you're kidding. So I called Bob the same day. I said, Bob, would you be interested in coming out to the Nevada desert near Area 51 and we bring out a DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future and we just film you going back in time? And I said, and you would, and he finished my sentence and he says, and I would say I'm Bob Lazar and I'm going to bring you back to 1988. And I said, exactly. He says, let's do it.
I love
So
it.
we had such a great time doing that. It was really just meant to give everybody a little bit of a tease of we're gonna take you back in time. And now we're gonna bring out this real movie trailer that should be coming out very, very soon. So look out for it real soon. And that trailer will be showing you some really incredible cinematics. Like some of the stuff you'll see are absolutely stunning. And I'm not saying that because we're doing them, it's just because they really are. I keep seeing them with the team and it's really something. So I can't wait for everybody to see it.
That's good. Nos.
When does post-production work end for you?
Well, that's a good question. It really depends on. There's a few things that we're working on that have. Well, there's different levels of what we're doing. So we finished interviewing, so that's been done for a while. We've got hours and hours and hours of interview, and we've already cleaned up, the footage. We've selected what. It's really hard, by the way, because the interviews you got to cut out so much to fit it into like a movie. So it's so difficult to see some stuff go like, oh, damn, I wish I could have. So I might have a director's cut that eventually comes out, has more.
Yes.
That'll be good.
Yeah, there's just so much good stuff that we're going to unfortunately not be able to put in the first, in the movie. And then there's the VFX shots. So the VFX shots, and that's what takes the most amount of time in the post-production. So we're creating very, very elaborate shots. Some of the stuff is not just using Unreal Engine, because as you guys might know, we're using Unreal Engine 5. We're using Unreal Engine 5, Blender, Luma AI, reality capture, mocap, MetaHumans. We have a whole, and there's other softwares that we're using. The tech is evolving literally as we're doing it.
Oh yeah.
And so sometimes we'll have a shot made, and then there's a new update in the tech that makes us go,
Right.
wait, go do that again, and then we have to redo the shot, but it looks so much better. So we're like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take the little bit of time. So it's a little bit of back and forth with the VFX, and it's because we want to deliver something that is world class. So it just takes a little bit more time. I'm saying this with fingers crossed, toes crossed, my legs are crossed, everything is crossed. I'm hoping that everything is finished in April. Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's a lot that we've already completed. It's just a question of putting all this together and then making sure that the emotion is there. I'm very, the music, the emotion, the imagery, the scenes. So we want to make sure that it's like top notch so that everybody just gets immersed. We're not, we're not even targeting you guys who love this stuff, and we're not targeting most people who know about the Bob Lazar story. I'm always telling my team, we got to target the people that have absolutely
No idea
what this is all about. And we got to make them, whether they believe it or not, we got to make them go, wow, look at this, because it's such an important topic. And we all know that this is real. We all know this stuff happens. We all know that, but it's been we have not seen a Hollywood level investment in this. We've seen it for sci-fi, like you can have like flying saucers and stuff in sci-fi. That's just that bores me, to be honest, because it's not what actually
It's
happened.
been done.
Yeah, and we want to see real investments made on something that happened, so that
Yeah.
we can get the opportunity to see it for once. They're never going
Right.
to really show it to us, so let's create it. We have the tech. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
And you have the horse's mouth too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And see, I think about that, and I think about the capabilities of Unreal Engine 5 and all the work that's going into creating these scenes and everything. I get my notices every time UE has an update. And I think about it and think that, get enough attention and everything going, not just on this project, but everything else that generates interest in the community leads back to the project, right? And being able to sometime put online a virtual reality immersive experience for them with the assets you already have.
Oh, that's actually happening. I mean, there's
that's part of the project.
Yeah, the project actually, you see, the name of the project is Project Gravator. Okay.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who don't like that name. I came up with the name, so I force everybody to have to like it. Okay? So
There you go.
I think it sounds cool.
I think it's cool. Yeah.
And so Project Gravator, the name came out because when we were talking, I was talking with Bob. There's two things that are related to the craft. One is that it uses gravity, or that what they understood was gravity, and two, it was ancient. So dinosaur, gravator, and that's where so that's where that came
Gotcha.
up. So I brought
Like it.
yeah. So Project Gravator is the umbrella of this whole thing, and within Project Gravator, there's the documentary film called LAZAR, the original Whistleblower, which is what we're talking about. Since we created Groom Lake, Papoose Lake, the Papoose Mountain Range, S4, the whole thing, well, it automatically provides a virtual reality environment. So we basically are doing that in tandem. So it's like a two things are being done at the same time in reality. And so once the movie is launched, it will provide my team the time needed to no longer have to be on the movie, but
Right.
to basically finalize the VR experience. And the VR experience is going to be so, and I consider it to be like the coolest thing. I've seen part of it. You can't, even if you don't believe in this stuff, you still want to go there. You know what I mean? Because the idea of Area 51, for so many decades, people are always, what are they talking about when they say, what's the mysteries of Area 51? Well, you can now walk into this hidden base inside Area 51. And as boring as it is, because I will say, Bob said all the time, it was really boring. He says, besides what was in there, because there was not anything exciting at S4. It's not like it's a exciting environment. It's a very dead, desolate, ominous environment. So the cool thing is that you're going to experience that exact feeling, that government building, government military feel, the security parameters, the guards that are going to be there, that are going to tell you to, walk there and don't do that and scream at you, which what they did. You'll be able to go to the nurse station. You could fiddle around with some of the stuff in the nurse station. There's that liquid that they made them drink. You won't be able to actually drink it, but you could pretend you will. Yeah. There's the briefing documents in the briefing room, so you'll be able to go through some of those. There's Project Galileo, Project Looking Glass, Project Sidekick, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the U.S. Navy. They were all U.S. Navy top secret documents. So there's things in there about the Zeta Reticuli star system. There's stuff about craft, the autopsy images that he saw, recreated all that. Then there's the propulsion lab, which is a kind of a boring room, but a very fun room if you know what you're doing. So it's like when you look at it, somebody looks at that, it's like, okay, what do I do? But if you know that gray thing on the table can create gravity, well, if you paid attention to the movie, you'll know how to put it together and freeze the candle. You know how there's a time where they froze a candle in place? You'll be able to do that. It'll actually work. You'll be able to throw a golf ball at it and it'll bounce off the gravity field around the hemisphere. You'll be able to play around with the actual. You have to know how to turn on the reactor and turn off the reactor. So that's like by rotating the emitter that's inside the lab. So these are all things that are fun because once you get to know how that works, I mean, it is cool because it's ET tech. It's like, imagine having an opportunity. It's always great. It's like being in school. Your teacher tells us how to do something, but we don't really get it until we actually physically do it. So it's good to stay around and go, oh, that's what he meant by rotating the emitter. You know what I mean? So it's good to do that because it's an educational process at the same time. And once you figure that out, which is pretty cool, you could either leave it there, the reactor, you can leave it in the propulsion lab, or take it with you and go into the hangar and walk all the way and go up the little steps, bring it into the craft. It's a very uncomfortable procedure because you have to put it down and you have to crawl into the craft because the slanted body of the craft was not designed for I'm 5'7". I'm pretty short for a guy. I mean, if you're looking at 5'10" or 6 foot or whatever. So anybody who's anything taller than I am, which is a lot, it would have to crouch down, get on all fours, and crawl in until the ceiling slowly starts to get higher and higher, and you could finally stand up towards the center of the craft, and that's where the reactor goes. So that experience, I did it. When you do that experience, you really, really get an incredibly clear idea of what Bob meant when he said it was very small in there. Because a lot of people say, it's a 52-foot diameter craft. Why would it be small? Well, you got to go in there to understand. And you actually get to see the dimensions. And you go, yeah, this was not made for us. This was made for something much smaller. Yeah. So it's going to be a really, really cool experience for people to do, and activate the craft, obviously.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
William.
Yes. Did Bob ever give any idea of how old these crafts were exactly that he thought maybe they were, or that maybe?
Yeah. Well, he the only thing that he was told. Now, this was not something that he read, so it's very important to note that this information was given to him verbally and was not part of the briefing documents. Okay. That one of the crafts, potentially the one that he was working on, was found in an archaeological dig and was potentially 10,000 years old. So and that's where the ancient comes in. And so it really is very, very interesting because he always said, a lot of people say Bob worked at S4 where they had all these crashed saucers. And Bob always says they were not crashed saucers. They were intact. These were not, they didn't look like with the exception of the one that he saw was the top hat. It looked like a top hat, like the old a straw hat. Right. It said it had a hole that was shot or looked like something shot through it.
Yeah, that's right.
Thin part around it. He said that obviously had damage to it because he says I saw the damage to it. You will see that also in our film and the experience. But he says I don't know if that was because they shot it down or they were just testing to see the structure of the craft if it could take a hit or not. So he says, but it didn't look like it crashed. So it was still intact in its shape. So he never a lot of people, there's a big misconception about S4 out there where people think that that's where they brought the Roswell crash, or that's where they have all these crash saucers. He literally said they pretty much looked all intact. So, you know, he goes, I don't know if there was any crashed ones. He goes, I didn't see them. He goes, I didn't personally see any crashed saucers there. Yeah.
And they were all different shapes too.
Right. That's right. Which he called it the something about the variety pack or something. He made a comment years ago. He says it's almost like they had the variety pack, you know. He's very nonchalant about it, but he knows how serious that is. You know, it's like, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of like we had the theory a couple of years ago that alien craft, whether they be from one non-human intelligence or more, had different models for different purposes.
Right.
Kind of like how we have trucks and cars for different purposes. So I wonder if they're all from the same non-human intelligence, the one he saw, or if he had any information in regards to that. No.
That unfortunately, he's actually very he also questions the information that they made him read in the briefing documents. He still has reservations about that, and I guess over the years he's given it a lot of thought and says, you know, it's so difficult to wrap your mind around a lot of the things that was written, a lot of the stuff that was written in there. He says the only thing he could validate, we all know this, he said this publicly many times, the only thing he could validate is what he touched, what he actually physically handled, which was the reactor and the way the reactor reacted with the components inside the craft, because he was able to go inside the craft at one time. So that was referenced. Those things were referenced in the Project Galileo files of the briefing documents. He says that did all make sense. He said, but the information regarding Project Sidekick, Looking Glass, the Zeta Reticuli origins of these potential creatures, the something else about the history, you know, something about the origins of humanity, that we were a product of 65 corrections over many, many years, and that we were containers, and that there was information about religion and certain things about that. He says, you know, there's no way to validate any of that information. And he says a lot of that sounded like crazy information. So was that purposely would they write purposely in that type of way just to throw him off, just to misinform him so that it would not provide him the right? He's very, very on the edge with that. He has a lot of difficulty with that. A lot of people have come at him with it, and he says, look, I'm just relaying what I read. He says, I'm not saying, you know, I'm only relaying it, doesn't mean I believe it. He says, I'm relaying, this is what the document said, and that's it.
Right.
Right.
So and we do have a question for you from the chat room from Brian Jackson. Did Bob clarify whether the propulsion parts in the lab had to be reinstalled for test flights, or were the parts he worked on possibly from another similar craft?
Yeah, that's a good question. Those are good questions. I'm glad people are paying attention, because those are people that are paying attention saying that. That's great. The reactor that was in the lab was a separate reactor. There was a reactor in the craft. So it's really important to note that there were two reactors. Where the reactor that was in the lab came from was unknown to him. Okay, so he did not know which other craft they got it from. So this is really important. The sport model, the craft that he did work on, had a missing amplifier on the main level. So the amplifier, so if we were all sitting in those three seats that are in the craft looking forward, the amplifier to the right was missing. It had been cut out with a plasma cutter at the bottom and had been removed out of the craft. That was the amplifier that was in the lab. So it was not in the craft, it was in the lab. The lab also had an emitter, which is those cylindrical 4-foot by 2-foot cylinders that are on the bottom of the craft. The problem with that is that there were 3 cylinders in the craft. So that emitter came from somewhere else. And he wasn't privy to know too much. It was very, like he's often said this publicly, it was very, very, it was a very uncomfortable work environment. You cannot really ask too many questions. You cannot really want to investigate too much. You would be immediately kind of barked at if it was a security person. He was only able to speak to Barry, which was his lab partner. He also had the opportunity to speak to another scientist named Rene, which would come, he would come in and out every so often in the lab and meet with him and Barry. So he says Rene was the only person he had other conversations with, but even that were very controlled conversations, meaning you don't want to go too far because you're scared that if you ask the wrong question, they might say it to somebody and then somebody's going to come and see you and be like, you know, you're not supposed to do that. So very, 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 very strict environment. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We do have some images that you have been posting on Facebook, as well as on your Project Gravator page.
You know, I get in trouble every time I post those things. My team hate it when I do it on my own. They always like,
you like it.
you know, and they're like, you're posting too many pictures. I'm like, no, I'm not. People want to see this, you know. So
yeah, you're drumming up interest.
That's right. So
I'm interested.
Yeah, there you go.
So what we're going to do is bring the pictures up so people can see them, and you can describe how you created them. The perspective of each image.
Sure. This is, well, obviously, here's the sport model. This is the infamous sport model, the flying saucer that Bob worked on. This is the main hangar. We call it the main hangar because the sport model was located in what they called the main hangar, because there was 9 hangars, but the one where the sport model was located was slightly wider. So the other ones were a little smaller, and this information was relayed to him from Barry. So you're in the main hangar. You're seeing the sport model there. You're seeing a work table. There's a plasma cutter to the right. That black and red piece of equipment. There's a generator, the yellow generator that you see there. There's the tripods with the 2 halogen lights. There was 5 of those all around the craft.
And those are all models. Like, these are all individual models.
We create everything you see there was created by my team. That's right. So everything is
amazing.
All the assets. Yeah, the detail. We created these little stairs. Well, this is really old. These are pretty old renders.
Like that right there. Like,
this is
like the Tektronix. That's,
we did amazing. This. Yeah, we actually, and it's too bad you can't zoom because I actually had
it
the
even
date.
Looks worn and used.
I have a February.
Hold on.
I have a February 1989 date on the top left there on the screen. I did it on purpose because I wanted to make sure that was accurate to the era. So I think on the top left it'll say
it definitely is.
Yeah,
that's very, very cool.
We spent a lot of time making the oscilloscope. It was something we wanted to get right, and Bob was very specific about it too. He says you got to make sure. He gave us the brands of the equipment that were there, so we followed that very well.
Yeah,
we did a lot of research.
Detail is just phenomenal.
So, and these are old. I mean, what you're looking at here, this is a render from quite a while ago. The lights, the ceiling, I'm looking at it, and wait till you guys see the final product. I mean, the ceiling of the hangar is so much more intricate now because we have the air vents, we put the true mercury vapor lights up in there. There was a lot of things that we did in steps. So
Yeah.
there's the crane, the 15 to 20 ton crane that's up there. The infamous number 41. If you look on the wall on the back, there was a number 41 written in black with a white circle around it. That was exactly where it was located. That was the and he doesn't know what that meant. Never knew what that meant, by the way. So although number 41 was clearly printed on the wall, he did not know why there was a number 41. There's a lot of speculation out there. And Bob and I both don't like speculation because it could lead to the wrong information. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's because it's S4 and this is the first hangar, so 4-1," But it says it didn't have. A lot of people thought it was a 4-1, but it wasn't. It was a 41. And so we by the way, it's also S4 with no dash. A lot of people put a hyphen, like S-4. It's S4. There's no hyphen in there. Also the equipment inside the main hangar had the number 41 marked on them. So anything that was in that hangar belonged in that hangar. It could not be transferred over to the adjacent hangar. I think that was for security. It was a security protocol or some type of structure that they had at S4.
Okay. Next picture.
This is just I was so proud of the team when they came up with these stairs, because that's exactly what it looked like. Bob, I remember saying to me, he goes, those mobile stairs that you see at Home Depot? He goes, well, something like that, but a little bit, more 80s. It was made of metal, and we recreated it. And this again, it's a while ago, but it was perfectly almost to the height of the entrance to the craft, so that when you were standing on the top platform, imagine a 6-foot person walking and stepping onto the craft, you could see how incredibly low it is, because it's slanted. It's a disc shape, right? And there's the there's a reversed American flag that was to the left of the entrance, and he said it was a sticker about 9 inches wide. And the reason why he remembers that, he said, is because he stood onto the craft and put both his hands on the craft, he's got them like that, and he put his left hand on the flag, and he extended his hand, and he said it was the length from my thumb to my pinky finger, and I remember that. And he goes, and I looked over to the left, and a security guard was kind of sitting there staring at him with this frown, and Bob looked at him and kind of like smiled, saying, "I'm allowed to go in here, you're not." It's kind of just because he says he always hated their demeanor. They were always so serious at S4. And so and that flag was a mystery for the longest time. He even didn't know why there was a reversed American flag on the craft. I mean, he says, look, he goes, all I can tell you is it was there. I can just report there was a flag on the craft. So it's obviously, it's America. We put a sticker on it. It's now ours. But
right, that's claimed.
Yeah, but obviously not made for us. So yeah. This is the entrance. There was never any door visible to the craft. He never saw it. So whatever you see here is what he saw. The main floor, you could see the main floor, but there's like a little lip that looks to the bottom of the craft. There's like a little opening to the bottom. He says that is exactly how it was. It's literally what you see there is exactly what he saw. The entrance very narrow. I said, did you ever think that they had a door somewhere? Did they ever maybe misplace it. He says, I have no idea. He says, I never saw it. Even when the craft was outside, when he saw it being tested, the door was closed, but he never saw the door. Like didn't look like there was a door. So I don't know. That's something he doesn't know. That's just a cool render that we decided to do of the craft just levitating into the hangar. The reason why we did that is because we thought, well, they have to get this thing out of the hangar to test it, right? So somehow they're not gonna. It was sitting on its belly, by the way. It was not on anything that could be movable. You know, a lot of people thought it was on rails, or it was maybe sitting on something that they could move around. No, it was straight on the hangar floor. So this is an assumption because he never actually saw them take the craft outside when they did the Omicron test. So this is just creative liberty of thinking, all right, well, look, maybe the thing could levitate indoors and they could just, fly it out. Because otherwise, I have no idea how they would do that. This is these are the 3 seats inside the craft. This is just also, Bob was the night. There was one night where I finally presented him the seats because we had worked really hard on recreating the seats. We had followed instructions and it was an evening. I remember I called him. I said, Bob, we finalized the seat, and so we did a Zoom call, and I've had this recorded, and I finally put the seat up on the screen, and Bob looks at it and just goes, "Oh my God!" I remember him saying, "You got it, you did it. That's it." He goes, and he kept looking at it, and he kept going, "Look how creepy it looks." He goes, "I remember the creepiness of that seat," because he goes, "It was so small. I knew it wasn't for us." And he goes, it had this creepiness to it. And I guess we certainly got the design because it really hit him when he saw it. So we're really happy about that. These are the 3 seats in the center of the craft.
Little people.
Unfortunately, on the left side of this, you could kind of see the outline of the amplifier that's missing there. Unfortunately, the shadows on it, but you see the reactor in the center there, and there's the wave guide, which is this pipe that comes from the ceiling that is to be applied on the top of the reactor. So that's really like that center of the craft on the main level.
Oh, so those 2 things are supposed to touch each other.
Yeah, the pipe, the tube that you're seeing, that's kind of like, you don't see where it's connecting because it's connecting all the way to the top of the ceiling there. That pipe, it's what he calls the wave guide. It goes up or down, and it's supposed to, it kind of latches onto the hemisphere of the reactor. So as soon as the pipe touches the hemisphere, they then activate the reactor, and the gravity field of the reactor, I'll keep calling it a gravity field, but it's whatever field it was creating, which we believe is anti-gravity. So the gravity field that it's creating is then channeled through the waveguide, and the waveguide goes right into the ceiling of the craft. The structure of the interior of the craft, there are archways. There are 12 archways that do the whole turn of the whole interior of the craft. And that gravity wave is then flowing through the archways. It is then amplified somehow through the amplifiers that are right next to the seats. That gravity field is amplified and then sent down to the emitters that are on the lower level. Those are the cylindrical,
right.
And those emitters can swivel at 180 degrees wherever they want. There's 3 of them. So, and they basically are the guides to how the craft is going to move. So if it's gonna lift off the ground, you only need you would have two of those emitters basically rotate so that they're pointing outwards. It would be standing on one, and it just lifts the craft in the air. And then, however, the craft has to move is, from what I'm understanding, it's the emitters are being moved, and the craft can move around. That's at low power. When the craft goes into full power mode, which is the delta mode, the three emitters are all pointed to the middle, so they're all pointed in the center of the disc on the bottom, and the craft is then rolled over on its side, and it moves belly first to whatever destination. And realistically, it's not actually moving to destination; it's just snapping there. It's opening up space-time. So I think humans have a long way to go before we understand that part. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the door on the outside of the bays of S4.
I'm embarrassed to even show this. This is a horrible render compared to, wait that you see what we've got now. Like this is good, but wait this is the little door.
It looks pretty good though.
Oh
I
God!
can't wait to see what you got now. Though. But yeah, that looks good though.
Wait that you see what we got. It's like next level. So,
Nice.
when you look at the facility, the S4 is in the side of this little hill, right by Papoose Lake. And when I say the facility is where you see these hangar doors that are kind of camouflaged into the side of this hill, right near Papoose Lake. The entrance is you have to kind of walk around. There's a little nook in the hill. You could see it through Google Earth, and there's a door there, and it's a hidden door, obviously not visible from satellite nor air, and you're basically in this nook, and there's a door, and that's the door that leads inside of S4.
Wow.
And on this render, the camera is not there, but there's a white security camera to the right of the door, and it basically was clear that there was some type of security there because there was a white security camera outside. Yeah.
Let's see if I can make this bigger.
Well, yeah, this is I don't know if obviously you guys can't see my mouse, but yeah. So you've got Papoose Lake there. You've got the road leading to Papoose Lake, which is a pretty important piece of the puzzle, because if there isn't anything there, why is there a road that leads to Papoose Lake? Okay, that is a big why is there a road there? Okay, now. Right. The road only leads to Papoose Lake, and you do not really see much after that. But there is evidence of a road. I will not show it because I promised somebody I would not. But there is somebody who has done amazing work and has actually identified it very well, actually. And hopefully he will come forward and show his work. I was blown away with it. Very clear, very well done research, and was able to show that there's an actual road that goes straight to that hill. So I can't unfortunately reveal that because I promised him that he's got to get the credit for that work. But all I could, and where I wrote S4 here is that little hill, which is a pretty small hill. That's where the base is hidden in. This is on another angle, so this is going completely the other side, and you're basically looking at a little piece of Papoose Lake to the right, and the hangar doors are basically where the arrow is pointed. That little hill is where S4 is located. This is just a little bit of a clear image. You see Papoose Lake, you still see S4 there, and it's probably the most guarded location, I would say, once was and still is, by the way, one of the most guarded locations in the world. This is another aerial view. Amazing stuff. People get to take pictures sometimes if they get to fly close by. So you have Groom Lake all the way to the top left, and you see the Papoose mountain range that separates Papoose Lake and Groom Lake. That mountain range there, that's the Papoose mountain range. And obviously then you've got the Yucca Flat, which is closer to the bottom of the picture, where there's this big, you could see a big landing strip there next to the Yucca Flat. There's like a landing strip. And that's where they, from what I understood, that's where they test the drones. The military sends out their drones from there. They send them out to, wherever, and they bomb the shit out of whoever they have to, which is that apparently where they do that. Janet Airlines, everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Janet Air, those are the 737 jets, the Boeing 737 jets that fly out of that still fly out of Las Vegas to Area 51. I was actually there not long ago, and they're still there. You can from Las Vegas Boulevard, there's an area there that you can actually park your car and walk to the fence, and you're like really, really close to the Janet jets. They're right there. They don't hide. They're really, really easy to spot.
Are any of them civilian workers, or are they all military? You think?
I would say most of them are civilian. I would actually, yeah.
Can you imagine that? I mean, they must get paid a lot. I don't know, just to have to be carted by an airplane to their job, and then have to be.
I took this picture here. I took it from my hotel room when I was in Las Vegas. So I just looked outside, and I said, "Holy shit! There's a Janet jet right there." I called Bob. And I said, Bob, I got a Janet jet right outside right outside my window. He goes, well, take a picture. So I did. So that's the picture I took. And that's exactly where they're at. They're basically there. I saw the people. I actually woke up early to go see what they were going to do. And there was a whole bunch of people working on them. There was 2 vans that showed up early in the morning, and people started loading up in the planes. And they left, and I thought, "Oh, look at that! It's out in the open. I mean, there's nothing. They don't hide about that. There's nothing hiding there. You just don't know what their names are. You don't know."
We do have a question in the chat from Snoopson100. Since they use buses for the workers, why do they use airplanes too?
Well, the planes are meant to fly them from Las Vegas to Area 51. So they're flown to Groom Lake with the Boeing, and then once they're there on at the base, then I would not be able to tell you all the different types of methodologies that they're going to use to go. I mean, that's huge location, by the way. So
right.
They probably have buses or trucks or cars. I mean, they probably even have helicopters out there. I suspect they must have that. So there must be a lot of different methods for them to get around once they're at Groom Lake. And everybody must have a security clearance in order for them to move around, depending. But in order for them to actually get to Groom Lake, most of them are flown in. And there are, the person who's asking the question is absolutely right. There are people who are brought in by bus. Those buses come in from the nearby towns around there. So I mean, you've got the 375, the extraterrestrial highway. There's a junction area there where the buses sometimes do stop, and there's government employees will leave their cars there and will load into the bus, and then they drive to the back gate of Area 51 and drive in. But I would suspect that the majority of them are flown in. This is just the hallway, and again, they're nice renders, but I can't wait for you guys to see the new ones. So,
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, this is what the I call it the infinity hallway, because Bob said it looked like it never ended. and this is this dimly lit the lower part was like this bowling green cinder block, very eerie hallway, very quiet. And the top part where there's like the cinder blocks are green, but the top part is just regular super rock plaster, and it had like a light, very very light green tone to it. Wooden doors. There were doors on each side. On the left side is where you would have the propulsion lab to the left, and then you would have every single hangar. So there would be a door to every hangar that lead from the hallway that leads into each hangar. On the right side, there was the briefing room. There was the washroom. There was a extra type of, I guess, another type of briefing room. There was a cafeteria where they were allowed. They were allowed. He would obviously be allowed to go to the washroom or the cafeteria. You're not prevented to do that, but you're always escorted by security. So he said somebody's constantly breathing over your like they're constantly right next to you. So he says even when you go to the washroom, it's annoying because they're there. So you can't really do anything. You couldn't really do anything at S4 without having security right by your side at every step. Well, this is the infamous Identimat 2000. This is the bone scanner. This is the bone scanner room, which is part of the entrance of the base. And this is where Bob and Dennis, his superior, would put their hand on the bone scanner. It would light up. The card would be there. Takes his card. It would obviously authorize him. Takes his card, and then there's a set of double doors. There's a security panel there. He had to swipe. It was a card with a mag stripe, and he would swipe the card, and then would get access to the facility. And the card gave him access to to get through the double door, to get through into the propulsion lab, and into the main hangar.
And how does that scan your hand?
What it does is you put your hand there, and there's a bright light. Now, this machine has now become way more popular. Now people know about it. This machine apparently would measure the length of the bones in your hand, which apparently are as unique to each and every one of us as are our fingerprints. So as soon as you would put your hand there, it would read, it would immediately identify you as who you are and would give you your security ID card. These machines.
Bone length.
Pardon?
By bone length. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, bone length. Yeah. Okay. Which is incredible because one of the things that I will say, because I've heard this a million times over the last couple of years, is the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind actually has a scene, and the movie of Close Encounters of the Third Kind was done in the late 1970s. There is a scene of two people walking, and there's this machine there where it's actually in the movie, and somebody puts his hand there, the light turns on, he gets his card, and then he goes into this secured area. So when Bob came up with this story, came up with the Identimat story, people didn't believe him. When it came out finally that yes, it's true, that at the Tonopah test range they did have these machines back in the 1980s, especially for the stealth fighter project. There was a lot of people who went on Google and found out that, because Google really existed in 1988, by the way, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I remember Google in 1988. Sure. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
On my IBM XT.
Exactly, right?
Tandy.
Like Commodore 64. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people who said, well, you see, he lied about it. It was in the movie Close Encounters. He knew that machine existed. Now, my biggest argument to that, and my biggest argument to anybody who says that, being born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, is yes, it's true. That machine was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was seen as a security machine to get into this secured place. But nowhere did it say that it measured the bones in your hand.
Right.
And the fact that Bob knew that the machine measured the bone length of your hand, that information was really not available back then. And so I challenge any one of today's Google maniacs to go back in time to 1988 and not have Google and not have a phone and not have the internet and not have anything and get me that information from a classified location. Okay, so, yeah. I mean, let's be realistic. He did not have that information. He knew the information because he was there. That information was not public, period.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a picture of the disc outside.
Yeah, this is again an old render. We got so many cool renders, guys. I can't wait to show it to you. This is a render. We were messing around with terrain. The terrain that we have there it's good, but we've got way better now. It's just to show the quality of Unreal. And this is, again, like I'm not even kidding when I say I look at this render and I give it like a 2 on 10. Okay, wait that you see what we got. It's gonna blow your mind.
Nope.
Yeah, that's actually the first trip I ever went out there to meet Bob. I went to his house. That's me and him at his house, and we spent 2 full days literally going through every single inch of the craft, and I mean inch by inch. It was a big job. We were going through. We were talking about materials, densities, thicknesses, dimensions, heights, colors, choosing the right tonalities, the textures, the grain, the sounds that things would make if you walked on them or knocked on them. We really went through like a lot. And that was my first ever trip with him. And after that trip, my team and I came up with a 378-page book on the craft, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I still have at the office. Yeah.
We have a question from the chat room for you, Luigi.
Sure.
I'm aware of 11 people who worked at the Papoose facility. Has Bob mentioned the validity of others?
Bob said that there were a total of 20, from what Bob was told, there were a total of 22 people working at S4. He only knew of that he interacted with was Barry Castillo, which was his lab partner, Renee, which he occasionally was able to speak to, the nurse at the nurse station, and a few of the security guards that he interacted with, and obviously Dennis Mariani, which was his superior. That's it. He never had the opportunity to communicate to anybody else. He was able to see them. He was able to hear them. You know, they would talk amongst themselves. Like if they were impaired, they were paired, but he couldn't talk to them. He was not allowed to talk to them. Yeah, that's just a fun picture that we did of Bob when he was in Montreal. That was at the end of our shoot. We were there for like 7 full days. Bob was tired at this point, and we had, you know, those traditional, what do you call those? I can't remember the name of those movie, you know, like, you know, you say action.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name, but anyway, so I wrote that. I wrote Project Gravator, Scene S4, Take 115, Roll 51. You know, those are just for fun. I said, let's just take a cool picture. And that was at the end of our Montreal shoot. We spent 7 days shooting with Bob in Montreal, interviews and green screen shots. So we're going to be able to take Bob. You're going to see Bob Lazar at S4 because we're able to bring that into the Unreal environment now.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, this is how it started. This is literally how it started. What do you call it? This was at the very, very beginning. I had to come up with some type of a layout, just conversations with Bob, and this was the first. I laugh at this. I posted it because I remember looking at this, going, "Oh my God, did we ever come a long way?" This was just at the very beginning. We came up with a 2D put together, is that what the hangar looked like? And it started off with this, and boy, did it ever change over the time. Yeah, these are just extra pictures, just designs that we did. The craft, obviously.
Okay, now I can
The
bring this
reactor.
up.
Yeah, that's the reactor. You could see that the reactor there. You could see you can actually see it, that pipe there. That's like kind of and it's just about to go on top of the hemisphere is made transparent, so you could see the interior components. And you've got the tower, you've got the element 115. That's the triangular piece you could see there, and that's what the reactor looked like. So that gives you a good idea of how the functionality of the gravity reactor. And these are all from some of these renders that you're looking at from inside the craft. These are actually from Blender. They were done in Blender. Some of you might know that some of the stuff comes out a little bit better in Blender than in Unreal in some cases. So some of these were done in Blender. We're now officially doing all our renders out of Unreal. We managed to really up our game in Unreal. So these renders are good, but the ones that we're pulling out now are spectacular.
Oh yeah, with Unreal 5.
It's incredible.
Night and day.
Luigi, Live Light said you're going to have to release that 378-page craft document as a book.
Well, there is a book in our project Gravator. If you go on our website, one of our future products is a book. So you could certainly say you could certainly bet that will come public for sure. Absolutely, you'll have that.
So that's the element 115 right there.
Yeah, that's the element 115 right there. That's element 115 sitting right by the tower of the reactor. That's usually hidden by the hemisphere of the reactor. That's a beautiful little render. I particularly like this one. That's just the top of the reactor. Yeah. That's the waveguide. Again, you could see it applied on top of the hemisphere.
On top of the hemisphere now.
Yeah. That's just another angle to show,
everything is so clean. There's no wires. There's no, so it's not human just because there's no wires
nothing
everywhere and it's clean.
There's absolutely nothing in there. It's
like all solidly molded. Right?
Absolutely, it's completely
It's like one piece. It's
So
just like one molded piece.
If humans pilot this craft, and take it out for test flights, how do they control it? How do they pilot it?
Good question.
No idea. The thing that Bob always said was there was nothing in there. There were no control. There was no control panel. There were no levers. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. That you're looking at a very bare bones environment. But if you really think about it, sometimes, if we go back to 1988, and I think we can all do that as we're talking here. Back in '88, things had, like, even our remote controls from our TVs or even anything that we had a lot of, like, those little, they felt like little rubber buttons on, or hard plastic buttons on something, and everything was very analog. And now today our phones are bare bones. I mean, there's nothing on them. It's just a flat surface. And if the battery's dead on our phone, it's just a flat, bare bones, nothing. So it's very possible that this environment does more than what we can see here, but he never got to see anything. This is, again, this just extra pictures of the waveguide going on top of the hemisphere. And that's myself, Chris, my 3D master and cinematographer, and Bob. That's when we were out in Oregon by Crater Lake. We shot a beautiful interview of Bob out there. That was really a really fun time.
Bob looks pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's actually a replica that we built of the reactor. We actually built the thing for real, and that's Bob taking a picture in front of it. And we were really we love these pictures. It looks great on these shots. And when Bob saw the replica of the reactor, he said, "My God," he goes, "it gives me shivers. It almost feels like it's going to work." So, yeah, that's us working in Montreal at the studio. He literally sat side by side with us, looking at every possible step and correcting us and telling us what to do. And that's just us on the dry lake when we shot the DeLorean trailer. So that's how we were following the car. We had two camera people following the car, and the car was just blasting as fast as it could on the desert. It was amazing.
Nice.
That's just me and Chris in front of Area 51. That's actually not too long ago. We went out there.
Yeah, I just seen your short that you did where you're standing out in front of there.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Project Gravatar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now I got to back out for this one.
Yeah, that's the waveguide Terminator. I think I posted that today, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
That's my today post. Yeah, that's the waveguide Terminator. That's that little antenna on top of the craft. And that's the continuity of the waveguide. So the gravity wave is then extended outward of the perimeter of the actual body of the craft, and then is flowed back towards the bottom of the craft. And it creates, if you look at it from the top, it's like a donut. But if you're looking at it from the side, it looks like a heart. It's like a heart-shaped gravity field, if you want to call it. Yeah.
How tall is that spike in the middle?
That's a really good question. I would have to go. I don't remember off memory. I would have to go and check it out in the actual software. We can measure it, and if I'm not wrong, it was like 18 inches. If I'm not wrong, I'm saying that, but I could be a little bit off.
It looks far bigger from that image.
Yeah, from the image, but it's actually not that big. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So we have gone through all the photographs that he has posted to date that I could find.
Awesome.
So we want to thank you for describing them and explaining your perspective and Bob's on all those images.
My pleasure.
I think it's giving people in the chat room a run for their money in regards to information. So thank you.
Oh yeah, they're definitely excited. I mean,
We do.
They're active.
We did lose a couple of our panelists, but they are saying that they're about to return shortly.
No problem.
Could you go a little bit more into your virtual reality gaming aspect of your production?
Well, there's a big difference between when you're making the cinematics for a film versus the virtual reality part, because the virtual reality part, everything counts because you can't hide anything at this point. Like cinematics, we could trick the camera, make it look even more beautiful, and like they do in real cinema. But when it comes to virtual reality, you're there. So you're now living the experience depending on how you're going to experience it. So whether you're going to be using your mobile phone and just walk around with your mobile phone, which you could do, or have, MetaQuest goggles on and have a super high powered computer and have, the quality of the imagery will get just better and better over time. So the experience gets better with the equipment you use, obviously, and it's more realistic. And you'll be able to, again, when I say interact, it's everything. So you walk in, you could turn the lights on or off. If you want it to look really, really eerie in there, turn off the lights. It will look eerie. You'll only have the fire exit sign that'll be on. It's kind of gloomy. You turn it on, now you've got these lights on. You could go into the hangar and literally shut down the hangar lights. And when you do that, you've got some security lights that are on. So by those security lights, it gives the craft this little shimmer on, and it makes it really creepy because you're in this big hangar with this flying disc. So that's really cool. You can go outside, and something that we joked around about the other day, and this is no kidding. Our environment is literally 10 miles wide. So if you were to put your goggles on and walked for 10 miles, it's actually going to go, you're actually going to be in the environment. You're actually going to walk past Papoose Lake. You can go all the way around the mountain. So it's really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Looking forward to that. That'll be really cool.
Okay. Well, we got Odessa back, so that's good.
Odessa.
Yeah,
All
Nas
right.
is really with the internet guy out there at the pole, so I'm here.
Okay, I do have a question from a little bit farther back in our interview. If anyone has seen the underground facility that the Umbrella Corporation has in the movie Resident Evil, I'm guessing S4 and Area 51 would have something similar.
Who knows? Who knows? That's not something that Bob ever saw. So, I mean,
Right.
Who knows what's possible?
Okay, that was a question I had to address. Yeah, Liv, I got the other one already.
So I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
How many people were in one of the craft, whenever Bob was working on it? Like, people watching them, keeping tabs on them. I mean, how many, and what kind of, because it just looks so.
When he went inside? When he went inside?
Yeah, when he went inside the craft.
When he went inside the craft, there was including him, there were a total of 4 people, including Bob. So it was him and his lab partner Barry that were in the center of the area where the reactor sat.
Right.
And there was another team, 2 people working by the one of the archways.
Okay.
That was right in front of the seats, and that they had to be like crouching down because and they actually managed to get the archway transparent, because I don't know if you're familiar, but one of the archways became completely transparent at a certain point, and that's when he was inside the craft. And he says that team managed to make one of the archways completely transparent, and so he could see inside the hangar. And suddenly, a 1/3 of that archway in area became a blue screen with these black symbols that popped, but that showed up, and that caught his attention. So there was him and Barry by the reactor, and these two people that were, I guess, I don't know, maybe 20 some feet away. Yeah.
Okay, we do have a question we need to address in chat. It's from an SIMYT. How far from hangar? How far from the hangars in Area 51 is S4?
Well, S4 is
The hangars.
yeah, that's right. The hangars are part of S4. Yeah.
I think they meant how
shebang.
far away is S4 located from Area 51?
Oh, yeah, that's a good. It's about 15 miles south. It's kind of like 15 miles south, a little bit southwest of Groom Lake. But you have to drive around. Like it's basically, if you're at Groom Lake and you're looking at a map, if you go on Google Earth, and you could kind of see Groom Lake on the top right, and you'll see, if you're at Papoose Lake, just zoom out a little bit and you're going to see the mountain range, and you're going to see Groom Lake to your right. You'll see there's a road that kind of leads all around the mountain range and then leads to Papoose Lake. So if you do the mathematical calculation and then you go all the way to that little hillside there, you're at approximately 15 miles.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are trying not to ignore your questions in the chat, but the conversation doesn't always go the direction of your question. So we appreciate your patience. Odessa, do you have a question?
Actually, no, I'm just really enjoying the interview and just listening and learning. Actually, no, wait. You're hoping to be able to start focusing on the virtual reality thing by maybe April, May, somewhere in there. Once you are able to focus on that, any idea how long it might take, just so I can kind of get a mental picture? Because I'm really excited about it.
Well, yeah, so am I. Actually, so am I. Yeah, I would say I would give us another 2.5 months after that to really fine tune things. Maybe 3 months tops. We got to really I want it to be really good. Like I need it to be like excellent. So what's gonna happen is we'll have it ready. I know how I am. I'm a perfectionist, by the way. So it's gonna happen is I'll go in there and I'll be like, wait, we got to make that better, or I'll pick out all the stuff I don't like right away, and I'll have a list. I'll be like, no, we got to make that better, make that look better.
Yeah.
So you know how that is, So
Scope creep.
It's like me, I'm the same way.
yeah, so it would probably be another 2 to 3 months, and that's hoping everything is just perfectly, goes as planned. Which
Take time. I'd rather have.
Take your time. We want it stunning. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just committed. I really want this to be something that anybody goes, wow. I just want people to enjoy this. I want people to actually, and not only the fact that it's Area 51 or it's S4, but it's also because it gives us an opportunity to show what the tech can do.
That's
what
I was going to say.
So it's demonstrating what we could do now with the technology, which is what I consider to be really interesting. Yeah.
Right. We have 2 quick questions. One from Live Light. Were there any symbols or markings on the craft?
No, not at all.
Other than the American flag sticker that somebody put on.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, the backwards American flag sticker. Like rear view, like here we go, bitches, you can't catch us. Like that.
Yeah, and then from TETs, did Bob need to wear any special clothes while working with the craft?
No, he didn't have to wear anything that had to do with anything to protect him. Except that when he was first brought to S4, he was given a liquid to drink at the nurse station, which was the medical room at S4, which he was told that would protect him against foreign materials. That's what they said. Foreign materials. Yeah, they also tested him for allergies. They drew a grid on his arm and had different things placed on his skin.
Oh, I think that was an allergy test.
Allergy test, yeah. But
So
that
they were
little
doing
liquid, yeah,
all sorts of stuff.
the liquid gave him horrible stomach cramps that night. He said it was a very uncomfortable experience that night, but he says that's it. And then after that, he never had to wear any protective, because a lot of people say any radiation or anything like that. There was nothing. So
Interesting.
Live Light says, can Luigi come back on the show closer to release date?
sure,
And we say yes.
of course,
please.
Yeah,
of course,
Yes, please.
absolutely.
People in the chat are really digging what you're saying. And the work that you put into it shows that you're trying to remain accurate. And that's
Absolutely.
what we're pursuing on this channel is accuracy and truth. There's too much fluff and woo out there. So it's really nice to hear that you guys are really focusing on the accuracy of your presentation. Let's go down the line here. Oh, Nos is back. Sorry, Nos.
Hey there.
Hello.
You got a question?
I was still here. I was just listening through Odessa's.
You got a question for Luigi, Nos?
Well, not so much a question as just, putting pieces together from the things that you've been describing. I want to cover a couple of those. First, if I am a strategic, dominating, nefarious overlord running that program for the government, then I'm going to put into their orientation documentation something that they can confirm, followed by a lot of things that slant the opinion that if you confirm that, you believe the rest. And if you believe the rest, we're allied with something super powerful you don't want to piss off, right? So you get them to believe, you're protected from disclosure. But if you have someone that actually does follow through with disclosure, all the crap you made up makes them look insane, so nobody believes them. This is basic strategy.
Well said. Yeah.
But also with the flag on the entrance of the ship, security personnel aren't being given the specs and the blueprints and everything else that are worked out for these ships.
Right.
They're walking on cameras. If you change the orientation of flags or stickers that you put by the doors of the vessels, then whatever security camera that they're looking at the entrance of the vessel, this one, it's left side of the door, top, the blue field is in the right on the sticker. So left, top, right, here's my code book. This is the craft. This is the hangar that one's in. Right. So they can always match up.
That's
and the
interesting.
same thing with the numbers on the walls and the numbers on the machines. But with the numbers on the machine, I'll take it a step further, is because they are working with exotic particles coming off of these that they don't know the long-term effects on anything in the material sciences around them. So if machines that are from a certain area are getting maintenance calls pulled out and brought back, and they notice a series of machines breaking down from that hangar with particular deterioration, they're going to have a clue of something wrong with that ship. Again, this is strategic elements of design.
That is excellent analysis. Very, very well. Very well. Yeah, I love that. Excellent analysis. Absolutely. Yeah, it should be part of our team to kind of do analytical work. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
She said she would love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Extremely analytical.
From Tim Frick in the chat room, he says, from what I understand, the reactor wasn't functioning unless or until it was being tested.
Sorry, repeat that. I didn't understand the beginning.
From what I understand, the reactor wasn't functioning unless or until while it was being tested.
Well, the reactor, it's not that it wasn't functioning. The reactor was not turned on. It's about the procedure to turn on the reactor. So it always works. It's never just not turned on. So you can have the reactor sitting there, but it could be turned off, and it's not it's not emitting the gravity field or the let's call it It almost feels like a force field. But if you rotate the emitter, you now have an activated reactor and you can't touch it anymore. So
Right.
this was actually a question I personally had with Bob when I first met him, because I had, and to my own personal, I was upset with myself because I did not understand it when he had explained it on television or in different interviews. So when I asked him, he had to re-explain it to me. And then I was like, it's true, you did say that. And I never caught on to it because I always used to think once the reactor is on and this force field is there, well, how do you eventually get to it if it's no longer accessible? Well, you just have to re-rotate the emitter and you turn it off. I didn't know that. So it was something that I was very happy to clarify for myself. And I remember thinking a lot of people probably had the same question, because once this thing is on, you can't touch it anymore. So it was important to really get that process figured out. And there's a certain amount of degrees that it has to be turned at in order for it to do that. And that also implies the way that the gravity field is then emitted out of the emitter, so that it provides the proper, I guess we would call it strength or focal strength of the gravity field. It's bending space-time. At this point, I'm kind of like just using my own personal way of describing it, and maybe that's not how it actually is measured, so I don't know that, but yeah.
Okay, Tim Frick also said, since electronics are affected when UFOs are near cars and such, were they able to use electronics near the reactor?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it's actually interesting that he asks that. Yes, they did. They were. So there were a series of different pieces of equipment that they had inside the lab to test the reactor, and everything worked. There was nothing that was being affected. You know, like how sometimes we hear that everything kind of, the radios in a car will not work, or everything worked. So there was no, and there was what Bob kept saying was that it was very eerie, because he said this thing had made no sound, it emitted no heat, and it was producing an incredible amount of power. So he said that was a scary thing. He actually was he personally did not enjoy testing the reactor because he said he didn't know if this thing would just blow up one day, or just maybe not blow up, but maybe do something that could be potentially very dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. So he said
the field it could generate and what that could do.
Who knows? Yeah. He said,
look, until you turn it on and find out.
Yeah. He actually said that to me recently. He said, we had it on the bench straight in front of us. He says, he goes, I didn't know if I just took the base of it and moved it this way, if it would screw everything up. You know what I mean? Like, he goes, I was just scared of doing anything because it was just too much power. And I just didn't know if I messed around too much with it, if it would just mess with me, and that makes sense. I mean, that goes a long way for me, of somebody that is truthful, because
for sure.
Yeah, because you're talking about how you cared about your own personal safety. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily something you often think about when you're coming up with some confabulated lie. There was, so it really feels very, very genuine when he talks about that. And I could clearly see that there was definitely a concern with handling the materials.
And I was going to joke about, his concern. This is the guy that made his own rocket car.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at least he knew what the limitations are and how it worked, so he built it.
That's right.
Yes, he had no idea. So,
well, it's funny.
Also leads credence to that.
It's funny you say that. He actually said that. He goes, I'm familiar with jet engines. He says, he goes, I've been playing around with jet engines for the longest time. He goes, but I know how they work. Mm-hmm. He goes, this just didn't make any sense. He goes, it didn't make any, he kept repeating, nothing made sense. There was no connections. There's no, and especially back in 1988 and 1989, like today, we can all agree that we understand, oh, look, your speaker just turned on because it connected to your phone. That's Bluetooth, like we know what that is, right? We know that we could connect to stuff wirelessly today. It's
We had
amazing.
no idea back in the 80s.
We didn't
No.
none of that existed, so the concept of wireless transmission of these very powerful signals, that was not something that we regularly played with back in the late 80s. So it must have been scary. Yeah,
At least not in the commercial market.
right. Exactly. Well,
If they had the Identimat bone scanner in '88, then they had technology that's far more advanced than
of course,
we even knew of then.
there's no question. They're always ahead of us. They're always ahead.
Right. Okay, let's go down the panel and take last comments. I'm going to leave Luigi large screen
Yes, please.
so he can answer. William,
Yes.
you got last comment?
Last comment? No, I just keep going, man. I can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to experience it. Can't wait to get in on it.
Awesome.
Stoked. So
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Keep
guys-
it up.
Yeah.
I'll be checking.
Awesome.
All the
Odessa?
time. I'll be checking your channel.
Okay,
And I implore
so-
everybody else to remember to
Yeah.
subscribe and keep your eye on Project Gravatar.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Totally agreed. I was going to say, we just need a reminder. We want the name of your latest documentary, because everybody knows, everybody knows. And I also want to know the name of the virtual reality project that you're working on, so we can kind of keep an eye on that
That's
too.
Project Gravatar.
Yeah. Well, it'll be.
I just wanted him to reiterate for everybody, because there are a lot of people who are here now that weren't at the beginning.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So
Thank you.
so the main project name is Project Gravatar. Okay. And that's kind of like it embodies everything we're doing regarding Bob Lazar. And the first product that we're coming up with is our documentary film called LAZAR, the original Whistleblower. That's the first thing that's coming out. The VR experience, the game, let's call it the experience, the game. For the gamers out there, we can call it the game. That will be called S4 The Experience. And that is going to be coming out a few months after the launch of the movie. And following that will be a beautifully illustrated book. So we're going to have an S4 book that will come out, and that'll utilize these beautiful graphics that we're able to create in Unreal Engine and create a coffee table book so that you could finally have a super cool flying saucer book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, though.
I'm signing up for a signed copy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And hopefully, and I mean this because it was the first thing I wanted to do, and it's ended up being the last thing on the list. We're going to be creating a super high quality die cast model of the sport model.
Nice.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah, and that's going to be last product. That's going to be a collector piece. It'll actually include a real element one, like a metal made out of copper element 115 in there. It'll have everything that you'll see in our project, but tangible. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay,
'cause
there
I've
goes
tried
3
to-
paychecks
I've
of
tried
mine.
to find
Yeah.
the model
I know, right?
of it, and there is no model, at least that I can afford, that looks like the sport model.
Yeah,
I've tried.
there was a
Okay.
model that was made back in 1994 by the Testors Corporation.
Testers, yes.
Yeah.
I've tried to find that one, and it's
Yeah.
I was hoping somebody else would have found it and done it and
I've
distributed it
seen it.
again.
I've seen it from time to time on eBay. They're out there.
Yeah. The only thing about the Testors is great, by the way. We use the Testors as a reference all the time. The only thing is that it's a cheap plastic,
Yeah,
and
it's just
there's
the only one, It's just the
that's
only.
right. Correct. Yeah.
For
So,
now.
Yeah.
That's
For
gonna
now.
change.
For now. So
That's
we
it.
really want to make that leap into, I've actually made miniaturized models in my professional. I mean, I'm a merchandiser, by the way. I've been making stuff all my life. So I've done professional models of city buses. I've done professional models of products in my past, and I never saw a collector-worthy flying saucer ever.
You
Yeah.
know,
When I mean collector worthy, I'm not talking about War of the Worlds type of thing. I'm
Right.
talking about of a real story, of something real.
Yeah.
yes.
And so I said, we got to do it. We got to make this. That we've now got schematics to make it. So let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be great.
Thanks.
I'm
Appreciate it.
stoked.
Awesome.
Okay, Nos, last
Oh,
comment.
yes. Yes. So, going to start with what sounds like a sidetrack, but totally not. So, we all know that, like, even naturally, humans have a little bit of echolocation. You know when your voice should be bouncing back off of something. If it's a chiffon curtain, you're going to get that softening and the not a lot coming back. If it's a concrete wall, it's going to be coming back at you. So even unconsciously, we don't really think about it, but we're gauging the way our voice returns to us all the time. And my question is, did Bob mention to you when the reactor was on, his voice not sounding right on the return?
Well, that's actually a good question. I never asked him that. I'm going to ask him that. That's a very good question.
You really should.
These are the things I think of.
That's a very
Because
good question. In fact,
gravity bends everything.
that's true. Yeah, I'm very, very curious. You just kind of sparked something. I gotta ask him, because that makes perfect sense. It's true. There absolutely has to have some type. I mean, hey, it's bending. It's bending. If it's bending gravity, if it's creating gravity, it's bending space time. I mean, it's
Right.
doing something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll ask him for sure. I will
And
certainly.
this is kind of a comment on the physics side. There is that the gravitational or simulation of gravitational force emitting out would, in many cases, accelerate the compression waves as they bounce back, increasing the frequency of your own voice that you would hear.
It's interesting that you say that. You're right about that. I have to ask him, because when they bounced the golf ball, they had bounced the golf ball and it bounced off of it and blew a ceiling tile out of its
Right.
place. And that kind of goes with what you just said, because if you throw it at, let's say, 1 meter per second, it's bouncing back faster. So
Right.
so that does have some type that there is a logic behind what you just said, where there could be some type of difference there. I'll definitely ask him. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I don't know. I'm sorry that I don't know the answer, but you kind of, that's a great question. I will ask him for sure. Yeah.
I
Ross
got
is full
one
of
last.
those.
Sorry, I have one last question from the chat from Snoopson
Thank you.
100.
That's the second time they asked, so thank you.
Awesome.
Did Bob say anything about finding a cap to wear so the UFO could be controlled by thought?
A what? Sorry, to where?
Like a visor or a cap?
No. Actually, there was nothing. It's funny. He literally he's really curious. I mean, he's as curious as we are, because I mean, he's more curious than we are because he was there, and he would love to know how the hell when they did the Omicron test, where they were outside, and he said someone was obviously inside the craft. When they were doing the low power test, he was standing very close to the security table, where there was a gentleman looking at a VHF radio, and he says, he goes, I don't remember the frequency, but I do remember looking at it. And he says, that made no sense to me that somebody was sitting in there. He says, because first of all, he would have to be sitting on the floor because he can't fit in the seat. And he says, and whoever was in there, he says, knew how to operate this thing, because you don't just go in there and sit there. It doesn't just happen. Mm-hmm. So he was always curious to know how that happened, but he was never given that information. So who knows what they had? Who knows if there was who knows if there was other components that were not in the craft when he was given access to the craft.
Right.
Were there other things there? Something.
Wasn't he only given access to the reactor room pretty much?
He was only given, he only was able to go into the main level, and he peeked through the honeycomb hatchway to look under where the emitters were. He was never given access to the top level, to the upper level where the planar arrays are. He's always wanted to know what was up there. He says, everything I've ever thought of is just an assumption. He says, I did not have access, so I don't know. He says, is it possible that there was something that was there that could connect to somebody who's downstairs? And he said it sucks that he doesn't know. He just doesn't know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's too bad. We would all love to know that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we
Yes.
would.
But he can't be
That's
everywhere, He knows what he knows.
I mean the one thing Bob says is it was he keeps referring to the interior of the craft as a very ominous and creepy environment.
Creepy.
Yeah, creepy. Creepy is actually the word he used the most.
Yes,
He would
creepy.
constantly say creepy. Yeah. It felt like, he says, it just didn't feel like we're supposed to be there. He goes, it felt
maybe
weird.
we weren't.
Yeah,
Maybe
who
we
knows?
weren't.
I mean, obviously.
Well, back into that, mentally control, make people afraid to come forward thing.
Yeah.
This is the menace you get by doing what we want you to.
Yeah, right.
Well, I want to say this, Luigi. We really thank you for coming on our show tonight.
It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
We have definitely learned a lot.
Yeah.
I have more than what I already knew, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And you're more than welcome to come back anytime on our channel.
Yeah,
If we could
especially
have
as
you
we
back
get closer
on.
to release.
Yeah, if we
have
could
people
have
that
you
want
closer
see
to
you
the
again,
release
for
date,
sure.
that'd be great. And I will get back to you via email or by messenger, and we'll schedule that.
Sounds great.
We were hoping to have Nicole back this evening, but her cable that provided internet to her house got cut by accident. So they had to fix
Poor
it,
thing.
and she'll be back next week. So she apologizes sincerely for that.
Well, you'll say hi.
She is so sad she was not here. She's kind of kicking herself right now.
yeah.
She even tried to go to a friend's house to use their studio to get online so she could be here.
God. Wow.
Like she really, really wanted to be here with
Yeah,
you.
she
So
really
you know.
tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have her on next time. We will
Okay.
definitely have her on next time if everything works out for her.
That's great.
When you come back on.
Awesome.
So
it was really great to meet all you guys. It was really fun.
It's real great to meet you.
really
For
great
sure.
interview, and we thank you very much.
All right.
From
Don't leave-
everybody on the panel, we want to thank everybody on the panel. We want to thank everybody who watched online and everybody who participated in chat.
The chat
And
was
we-
awesome tonight, man.
Yeah, we hope to see you next week. And from
No
all of
problem.
us on the panel, good night.
Please join us next Wednesday night on UFO Man at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be featuring Terry Lovelace and his alien encounter at Devil's Den State Park. We hope to see you there, the UFO Man team.